Hello and welcome to Find Your Freedom, a podcast dedicated to helping you truly find freedom in all aspects of life. Join your hosts and their expert guests as they share practical tips and strategies for finding more freedom in your life. It's time to take control of your life and create the future you want. Let's find your freedom. Here are your hosts, Lenny the Boss and Omid Rad Investor.
All right, boom, 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 boom. Check this out. We are here again at another episode of Find Your Freedom. So before, we bring on our next friend, our next guest, right? We have something for you. We always try our best to give you something so you can find your freedom. So we have a freedom kit just for you, easily downloadable. All you have to do is go to findyourfreedomrei.com/freedom kit. Once again, findyourfreedomrei.com/freedom kit. All right. So this next guest, all right, I'm going to preference her as the attorney. I'm going to preference her as, the real estate coach and educator. I'm going to preference her as the STR queen, the hotel mogul. And right now she is absolutely on fire with her new group, the Welcome Fund Capital. So I'm currently in her mastermind. She is super fantastic, super awesome. So we are happy to have her. Diya, how you doing? How you feeling?
Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me here today.
Awesome. So Diya, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so where do I start? Kind of like what Lenny already said, I started out as a patent litigation attorney. Before that, I was a double major in chemical engineering and biochemistry. And so a lot of stereotypical, good school, good grades, good job kind of track until basically I wanted to get into the financial freedom track. And so and starting to read a lot of books and getting into real estate. So I moved back to Austin, 5-6 years ago, and got into real estate initially part-time while I was still working as an attorney. And then after about 2 years, I was basically able to match my attorney income with short-term rental income and quit my job and start real estate investing full-time. At that point, I started doing a wide variety of deals in the short-term rental space, flipping, wholesaling, doing bird deals, and then finally landing on hotels. And so I started doing more hotel deals. And to date, we have 3 hotels, a small multifamily short-term rental, and about maybe a dozen short-term rentals around the U.S. And then also under contract for 2 more hotels as well as part of the Welcome Capital Fund.
Wow. So you are engineering, then you went into being an attorney, and then you pivoted into multiple parts of real estate. So talk a little bit about that as far as, you have this, very strong drive. So, what makes you decide like when you want to pivot or do something completely different?
Well, I guess basically I've always knew that law was just a stepping stone. And that's in fact why I decided to go to law school instead of getting a PhD in engineering or in biochemistry. I just knew that either law or a business degree was going to be a lot more flexible and serve me better later on in life, regardless what I was going to do. And in fact, it was during an interview or just a job fair for chemical engineering, I met this attorney who was now a CEO of his own company. And he said that he started out as a patent attorney and he was an engineer before that. And then that was one of the reasons. There were a lot of reasons, but that was one of the reasons why I decided to go to law school, was because I knew that law was a great stepping stone and gave a lot of great foundations. But yeah, I decided that, working for yourself, even if you're working a lot of hours, is better than working for someone else and working 99 plus hours.
That totally makes sense. So tell us a little bit. So you got this law degree. So how is that law degree helping you out with what you're doing now, from your short-term rentals to the Welcome Capital Fund and buying these hotels?
So a lot of people always ask me, "Hey, do you regret going to law school?" And I always say no because it's been very helpful to have that legal background as well as the engineering background. Initially, when I went into short-term rental investing, the reason that I really liked it was because it leveraged all the things I was decent or good at. So that could be legal analysis in terms of understanding zoning and planning and future regulations that might be coming down the road for short-term rentals, or that negotiating contracts off market and buying deals off market for short-term rental purposes. And it ties in my engineering background by understanding iterizing, efficiencies and trying to figure out what are going to help me rank on Airbnb and VRBO, and analyzing numbers and to understand cash flow, cash in versus cash out. And then, of course, I also have a random background in fashion styling and design. So, understanding design helped me a lot in translating what I knew about styling clothes to styling interior design. And so it pretty much just brought all those attributes together, plus my love of traveling. Now, going into hotels, I do a lot of de facto, even though I'm not working as an attorney, I end up doing a lot of legal like activities all day long, whether that's negotiating commercial contracts on behalf of our team, or working with franchise attorneys to break the franchises for franchise hotels and turning them into independent hotels, or talking to land use attorneys, or talking to real estate attorneys, syndication attorneys. I end up talking to probably just as many attorneys as I used to when I worked as attorney. So
I love I love that. I think it's there's a skill set, and it translates really well. And I like your story as far as how you started with the short-term rentals and you kind of transition into this like boutique hotel sort of space. And I think that's like an intimidating jump. So I see a lot of people, they become successful in short-term rentals, and then they teeter with this idea of, hey, should I jump into it? Maybe walk us through like the analysis piece, because I think that for me is something that I'm kind of curious about. That I know there's like multifamily, you kind of mix like multifamily and like short-term rental sort of like data. So how do you put that all together to assess, hey, this is maybe a market or an opportunity that might work well?
yeah, so multifamily short-term rental is a little bit different than hotels. To start, of course, they're both commercial assets, and you have to understand, first of all, whether it's multifamily short-term rental or hotel or motel, the analysis is totally different, because now you're looking at the net operating income of this property and what the market cap rates are. Versus what the potential net operating income is going to be, and what and basically figuring out the current valuation based on the current net operating income, or NOI, versus future or potential NOI or net operating income. And you do figure that out different ways. So for short-term rental multifamily, maybe you will still use short-term rental data with a lot of the platforms that you guys are familiar with already, like AirDNA, Data Rabu, etc. For hotel data, a lot of people erroneously use AirDNA, and I've seen this even as far as on syndication decks, people still using the incorrect data. But so you're supposed to use hotel data if you're going to analyze it as a hotel. And so that's going to be on CoStar, which is, of course, a very expensive service.
Yeah.
But our mastermind students get the benefit of using the same subscription as me, basically. So yeah, you have to use CoStar data to figure out what the market cap rates are, and also the market gross revenue, and figure out what your hotel class is going to be. Is it economy? Is it mid-scale? Is it upscale, upper mid-scale, luxury? And figuring out all those renovation numbers as well. But that's kind of like the super simplified version of it. But there's actually multiple ways to get into evaluating a hotel. I'm not going to go into that in detail here and bore everyone.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I do want to get into your short-term rentals a little bit, but before we go there, all these hotels, they come up for sale, right? And, what make a hotel attractive to you? Like, is there something that you're looking for from an area or a type of hotel, maybe an ad value? Like, what are those 3 to 5 points that you're looking for to sit there and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Let me move forward with the due diligence.
So the biggest thing is the price. So price and the market are probably the most two important things. So with regards to market, everyone has their different strategies, and that strategy could be they're looking for a certain mile radius where they're operating already, or perhaps it's a type of tourism that they're trying to capitalize on because they already had great success in their short-term rentals. For me personally, and also for our fund, it has always been within 2 to 3 hours driving distance of major growing metros. So that's across the US. So it could be lake, mountain, beach getaways within 2 3 hours from Austin, Texas, from Denver, Colorado, from Atlanta, Georgia, etc. And figuring out where these markets that are primary rental markets are growing. Because if they're growing, then in theory, the tourism demand for these towns that are within driving distance from them will grow on in the future. So I don't look as much as what a lot of people do in terms of these top places to invest, although I do certainly do reference them. I do my own independent research on what markets are going to do really well. And then once we figure out these markets, I'm also looking at the population size and how easy it is to hire some folks to be in that market and for cleaning or for on-site management. And then figuring out how many sources of tourism. Is it just one or is it multiple? The more sources of tourism is better, the better. And then of course on the number side, I'm always looking at stuff that already can increase in valuation simply by operating it better. So it doesn't have to be renovated per se. It just has to be run a little bit better. And usually that means that they are run by mom and pop. They're taking pen and paper bookings. They're calling in bookings and they really don't have that much online presence. So the simple act of just doing a better job of marketing those online is going to greatly increase the net operating income and gross income, and therefore the valuation of the building. And then we look at, of course, like design and a lot of other millions of factors that could play into killing a deal or making a deal better. But those are the usual suspects in terms of my first initial round of analysis.
So I really like the deal that you guys recently are under contract for in Bentonville. Maybe walk us through that, because I thought that was interesting how you're able to get it under contract, and even like how the appraisal came in significantly higher than the purchase price.
Yeah, so that was a whirlwind. So we saw this hotel come up for auction, and my initial thoughts weren't to put it under contract, actually, because I thought that it was going to be a lot more expensive than what we could probably realistically want to take on. So I just walked it with my business partner just to see how someone is operating a franchise hotel, because I walk a lot of hotels. And when we walked it, it was so good. It's such a mint condition relative to a lot of the other hotels we're walking. And we walked hotels that were like 1950s, 1960s, and this one is 2008. So it was just like, wow, this is so, everything is clean and new. And it was so interesting to see this hotel that has like a laundry and maintenance staff room on each floor, an elevator, all these things that, it was just like, I guess, considered fancy. And so, but then I started running the numbers on it. And what the broker said was that this hotel will sell for 2 to 3x of what the minimum bid was. And I knew that if it sold for 3x, it would actually be valued a lot less than what the appraisal will come in at, because I already did some research on what the market sales per key is in this area. And based on the market sales per key, this hotel should be worth at least $6 million. based on just some other models. I felt like it was also going to either appraise at or above what the auction price would be. And so we just went through auction, and it was a really intense process because you do have to put a large sum of money down that was non-refundable. So you had to do a lot of your due diligence up front. I had 48 hours to figure out how much the termination fees for the franchise hotel would be, because that could make or kill the deal if that was a very exorbitant amount. And so there was a lot of calls, so probably 50 calls in that 48 hours surrounding the auction to make sure that I'm doing the right amount of due diligence. But once again, my attorney background and just already having other hotels under my belt really helped me make a confident enough decision to take down the deal.
No, that's great. That's awesome. That deal is super fantastic. So once again, congratulations on that deal. Now let's talk a little bit about the Welcome Capital Fund, right? And we could tie it into the deal too, because I just heard you say, hey, we had to make over 40 to 50 phone calls on that. So I guess two things. One, how important is it to have a team to sit there and execute on like making those calls and some other things that needs to be done? And then can you just give us a little insight on the Welcome Capital Fund?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Welcome Capital Fund is a hospitality fund that helps folks passively invest in a diversified portfolio of hotels and short-term rentals across the USA. And we are focused on deals that are a little bit harder to close than the average short-term rental investor. So, such as this hotel in Bentonville, it's having a large sum of money and understanding a lot of the legal in and outs would have discouraged most folks from closing on this confidently. But we were able to get this under contract and get almost a 50% discount from day one of getting this hotel. So what the team the team has 4 members. It has me, it has my main operations business partner, Mike, and it has Alex and Josh, who are experienced short-term rental investors as well. So we basically have 2 hotel / STR folks and 2 STR folks in the fund. And so we are all experienced in what we're targeting as a fund nationwide. And so yeah, having a team is really, really important. Having people who have different backgrounds is really important. Different perspectives is also really important. And that's one of my goals was to, one, help folks passively invest in the hospitality assets that they might not have access to, and also be able to raise money up front so that we're able to move a lot faster than our competitors on these deals, so that we can get somewhere like 20, 30, 40% discount off of market price for short-term rentals and hotels.
Oh, I think that's awesome. I think just like you said, like to have a team is very diversified, that brings a certain a different outlook or a different experience level. So it looks like you got everything kind of lined up pretty nicely. So I guess kind of touching on even that particular deal, you mentioned some legal things like termination of like the franchise, and walk us through that. Like I'm really curious as far as let's say I get something under contract, but then it's franchised. What does that even look like, and what are the process of breaking a franchise, and what's the flexibility with that?
It really depends on deal to deal. So there's not really a one size fits all answer, but usually there's going to be a termination fee, and that's based on understanding the franchise agreement and reading that. And so that is a document that if you're going to be bidding on a hotel, it's available to you in advance. But here, the wrinkle is that the franchise is not allowed to talk to you without the seller's permission, and the seller is not going to give permission just to anyone who is casually bidding on the property. And so having a franchise attorney who understands how to navigate all those things, and also being a relatively experienced hotelier who can basically give a baseline level of confidence to the seller, that you can close on this if they give you that sensitive information is key. But it's basically ruled by the franchise agreement, and it could be as little as what we're paying, which is definitely on the low side, 76K, to as much as over $1 million. So my goal was just to make sure that it's not something ridiculous before we put any sort of non-refundable money into the deal.
That's good. That's good. So you mentioned a little bit about having an attorney, a franchise attorney. So like when you're taking down a deal, outside of obviously your down payment money that you're going to need, what other parties needs to be involved that you need to hire to make sure that you're moving in the right direction and you do your due diligence the way it should, so you can purchase that hotel.
It really depends. So there are some deals where I see a need for consulting with a tax attorney up front. There's some deals where I see a need to consult with a franchise attorney up front. There's other deals where I see a need to have maybe land use, real estate attorney, etc. And it really depends on deal by deal. So there's not really a set number of rules. And that's really just understanding the risks and foreseeing a lot of the risks and understanding how to mitigate them as much as possible. And so I wouldn't say there's a specific checklist. You probably need at least a real estate attorney for every single deal to kind of form your LC, as well as try to put some sort of agreement together. But beyond that, it's really just having business and legal judgment a little bit, figuring out based on the current facts which additional pieces of legal advice do you need.
So you've taken down quite a few deals. It looks like you got additional 2 under contract. What's the goal? Like, what's the goal for you? And like, because I think at some point, do you want to keep acquiring bigger assets or diversify into something else? I guess what's like the short-term, long-term plan?
My goal has always just been to create as many hospitality 2.0 operators, so to speak, as possible, which just means that, traditionally, to get into hotels, you need to take a few $100,000 out of the bank and go to a fancy hospitality school. Or alternatively, you have to be born into the family to buy hotels. Your family already owns hotels. Your uncle already owns hotels. You're just helping them run ever since you're a little kid. And that's really how you get into hotels historically. So on one side is to take and elevate experience operators or real estate investors. Maybe they already have short-term rentals, and elevating them through our mastermind program to become hoteliers. On the other hand, is to make as many people passive hoteliers and getting some of that benefit of cash flow and tax benefits, etc. Being passive investors and just doing as many hotel deals as possible. And in terms of deal size, we're not really interested in the franchise hotels of the world. We're not really interested in solely just cash flow. We're really interested in creating unique experiences. And I think that for our guests, and I think that comes from my short-term rental background. I think that most folks in short-term rental business really care about this unique experience and unique offering. And so we do really just want to focus on unique things, adding something different for the guests in a market where it didn't exist before. And so just trying to do as many deals and make as many passive or active hoteliers as possible is really my goal going forward.
Oh no, that's great. That's great. Love that goal as well. Just a couple questions because I know that you said that you had a design background and some of the places that you have shown on social media, I have to say, they're really truly fantastic. So this big word always come out. It's not a big word, but people always say, "Oh, this market is saturated." So what do you say to those folks that sit there and say, "Hey, this market is saturated"?
I would say that folks who thought that short-term rental was just as simple as putting IKEA furniture in and putting it on Airbnb are they going to be the same and said that short-term rentals are easy, no everyone can do it. And 2 years ago are going to be the folks who are probably struggling right now because it is easy, of course, to convert any rental into a short-term rental, but it's not easy to do it right and do it better than everyone else. And that is what I focus on the most, is to constantly iterate. And it's not just a set and forget it thing. It's to constantly revisit, constantly read the guest reviews, constantly looking at what your competitors are offering and understand can you differentiate yourself from your competitors. So we have stuff in Austin, Texas, which is considered the short-term rental capital of the world, or at least the U.S. And they're doing really well. They're grossing. They already have like 60K of bookings on the books for this year, and so it's just really dependent on what you're offering, and really designing a space that is eye-catching, of course, and also durable and is going to sustain a large volume guests coming in every single week. And just really in the end, just figuring out what your niche is and doing that really well and not competing on price only, basically.
Yeah, it's funny you say like not competing on price, and you look at the algorithms and it's like it changes over time, and you can be like top page ranked, 1 month, and then another month you're like page 15. So I guess for you, like what sort of maybe KPIs or areas do you specifically concentrate on more to assess performance, and or like maybe you think, oh, there's like a certain area where you may want to emphasize more to, I guess, improve the performance of a property, whether you take it on or your existing ones that you have performing?
So whether it's hotels or short-term rentals, I'm always looking at what amenities are really popular in that area, more so. So it might be a pool, it might be a hot tub, it might be outdoor spaces, it might be a barbecue grill. Just figuring out what those amenities are, and then making a list of as how many things we can, do and still create a stay under budget, so to speak. And also just constantly monitoring the conversion rates of the Airbnb bookings and etc. And also figuring out how booked a listing is 7 days out, 30 days out, 60 days out, etc. As I start scaling more and more, I'm passing on a lot of those tasks to my operations team more and more, but I still keep an eye out on these metrics to make sure that our revenue management and dynamic pricing is doing well, as well as folks who are tweaking the listings is doing what they're supposed to do, and just also constantly getting more ideas like, hey, maybe we should convert this into an arcade room, or hey, we need to add a hot tub and an additional outdoor space for this other property. Just constantly keeping an eye out on your listings because they are an active business. And that goes the same for our hotels. I always have a whole list of things that we are looking to upgrade. And right now we have a whole list from guest reviews to basically figure out what we're going to do next in our next round of renovations.
That's pretty cool. So, what I'm hearing a lot of is, you're at a point where, you're not working in your business, you're working on your business to ensure that, everything go through. Let's talk about the Welcome Capital Fund just a little bit. So, is this a fund, because you're raising money, is this a fund that anyone can invest in, or do you have to have a certain type of DNA to invest into the Welcome Capital Fund?
So it's currently the Welcome Capital Fund is for accredited investors only, which basically is the SEC definition. And it's basically a certain net worth as well as their annual income goal. And for those who are listening in, they might want to check in with their CPA to see if they are an accredited investor. But we have other investing opportunities in the future as well. If folks don't meet those kind of thresholds, they can definitely reach out to me for more information as well.
So also, yeah, what I thought was interesting was when you guys had your offering that people can come and visit. So maybe you can, share that a little bit as far as if, let's say somebody wants to invest or they're interested in investing, can they check out the properties in the future or do ride-alongs or, that kind of process?
Yeah, so what we envisioned for the Welcome Capital Fund and subsequent funds is that we wanted to have it to be not just a passive cash flow uh, avenue for our folks, but also an educational platform and lifestyle. Something also to help them achieve a certain level of lifestyle. So for those who are investing 200K and up, they're going to get 1 week of free stay at their choice of our properties in the off season. And a lot of folks choose to use that different ways. Some folks use it purely for leisure, except it's technically still a business trip because you're visiting one of your properties. So you can definitely talk to your CPA how that might benefit you. But some folks are using it for exploring new short-term rental markets, or maybe because they want to buy hotels in the near future, they want to actually stay at one of our properties, at one of our hotels to kind of ask some questions, see how we're running things in a hybrid short-term rental hotel manner, and just getting a little bit more of a hybrid learning / leisure opportunity built into it. And we also have a lot of investor retreats that are going to be exclusive to our investors, no matter how much they invest. And those are going to be in different markets that we are already operating in. So it would be a hybrid trip of getting to know each other and networking with each other, and as well as with us. Everyone who has the same goals in hospitality, looking to scale together, but also secondarily, it's going to be a market familiarization process to where they get to know that market a lot more, and they get to understand that market by being shown around by one of us who already has a lot of experience operating short-term rentals or hotels in that market.
No, that's great, and love the market tours. Go in depth with that a little bit because a lot of people don't realize you're sitting there and you're touring a let's just say a hotel, but there's a whole other half to this deal that you're not telling the world, and I don't want to unleash it, so I need you to unleash it on everyone. Like tell everybody how attractive these market tours you have.
Yeah, so Lenny's been on some of these, and one of our other folks who are in our masterminds, he said that he gained 5 pounds on one of these market tours. So there's definitely a huge food and beverage component on these market tours. Going in depth, basically, our market tours originally, I devised this concept was because a lot of our students in our tier 1 mastermind is where as tier 2. They feel more confident in making offers on properties once they already have walked the market, they have walked other short-term rentals and hotels in that market, and they have walked some of the major tourist destinations, and they have played tourists essentially in those markets. And by playing tourists, it could be taking a tour, guided tour, whether it's walking, whether it's golf cart, whether it's driving, e-bike tour, etc. And then, or just eating some of the food and beverage scenes and partaking in those scenes as a tourist. Those really help folks understand this is what this market is offering. And so I started doing these tours, and they were wildly popular with our mastermind students. So most recently, I started opening them up to our investors as additional way to incentivize them and to also help them in their own active real estate investing goals. Maybe it's one for them to understand these markets so they can now buy short-term rentals in those markets, or secondarily, if they weren't sure about investing in the next fund with us, this is also another way to help them be more comfortable in these deals that we're closing as well.
That's cool. That's really cool. I think there's so much value when you go and see it in person. It inspires people. It builds confidence. I think sometimes there's these limiting beliefs that, hey, I can't buy this because of XYZ reason. But then you see it in person, you see your peers doing it, and you kind of learn the roadmap, and then it helps people kind of actually do it. So I love that kind of stuff. Yeah, let's shift a little bit to hospitable host. What is that, and can you explain your participation in that?
Yeah, so I'm a co-author in the second edition of the Hospitable Host group, not group, but book. And it's been an amazing experience basically co-writing this book with other folks in the hospitality industry. And yeah, we're going to have a book launch coming soon at the Short-Term Mental Wealth Conference. So looking forward to meeting all the amazing authors in that book. It's basically everyone's personal story of why hospitality, why short-term rentals, and for me as well, why hotels. And I talk about my personal journey, my personal background of just traveling with my parents and my family, and getting stuff into Motel 6 with 6 other people, and just riding in the back of a car once again stuff with a bunch of people, and going, and how that really instilled a love for traveling inside of me that translates to my passion for what I do today.
That's great. That's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it feels like we can just talk forever, forever, forever. And I know that you guys are taking down a few deals. So, hopefully we can have you back on to talk through, some of the new deals that you take down. But I guess until then, what does find your freedom mean to you?
And yeah, so that's such a great question, because that, of course, that means different things to each person. I think for me, at the end of the day, finding my freedom really means location freedom as well as financial freedom. So that really means that I'm able to do what I do every single day, regardless of where I am in the world. So I can be hiking somewhere in Colorado and still be able to take Zoom calls. I can be at a dance festival in Mexico, which I just came back from, and still be able to work remotely from there. And just getting to have that freedom to, do what I love doing in hospitality, regardless where I am physically in the world. And just getting to dance and hike and eat great food with great people, and, market tour with them, I guess, and market research with them. That's what finding your freedom means to me.
Great. So I love the travel component of it. And so if I can't find you at a festival or at a restaurant, where do we find you? How do we connect?
You can find you can find me at the best way to find me or reach out to me is really on Instagram, or on via my Facebook group. So on Instagram is DIYAESQ, or Diya Esquire, Diya ESQ. And then also on Facebook, you can find my Facebook group, which is, we have a weekly live trainings on hotels and short-term rental content. It's called Airbnb Professional Hosts.
That's fantastic. All right, Dia. So one of the things we like to do to end the show is we like to sit here and bust out some speakers, and we also like to sit here and bust out some air drums. So you're gonna have to bring the biggest boom right there is. Okay, so how we gonna do it is I'm gonna count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and all 3 of us is gonna say boom in this uniform manner. All right, so for the listeners, Dia is prepping herself. She's breathing in so she can sit there and give you what you need. So listeners, turn your radio down, because this is going to be the biggest boom we have thus far. All right, everybody ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. All right, perfect. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Boom!
Check this out here, man. We just had a fantastic episode with our friend Dia. She's doing big things. If you really are looking to get educated, all right, I'm telling you, her group is where you want to be. Get in contact with her, because she does the education and the market tours. I'm letting you know, is the best thing in the world. All right. Now, here at Find Your Freedom, we have to sit here and make sure that you can find yours. So we put together a freedom kit, really easily downloadable. All you have to do is go to findyourfreedom.com/freedom kit. Once again, findyourfreedom.com/freedom kit. And until the next episode, we talk to everyone soon. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Find Your Freedom. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're at it, please help us spread the word by leaving a rating and review and sharing the podcast with friends, family, and colleagues. Until next time, get out there and find your freedom.